As I was being delighted by the Cuphead show a few months ago, I could not help but be reminded of another series that took inspiration from the Fleischer era of animation. The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat took the cartoon feline and put him in some wild and surreal adventures, and was bursting with creativity in every episode. Produced by Film Roman, the makers of the series wanted to create something in the style of 1930s cartoons. One of the key creative talents on the show was Milton Knight, who was responsible for the visual look of the similarly wacky Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog series, and you definitely see a lot of his influence on the production. Another person who played a pivotal role in Twisted Tales was Timothy Borkland, who had served as art director on the television special Betty Boop's Hollywood Mystery, and has directed several episodes of Rocko's Modern Life and Teacher's Pet. Other artists who worked on the series were Lynn Naylor of Ren and Stimpy fame, and Doug Lawrence, a key contributor to SpongeBob SquarePants, including as the voice of Plankton. With this list of names involved, it's no wonder Twisted Tales wound up such a bonkers cartoon. Don Ariolo, who had inherited the rights to Felix the Cat from his father, Joe Ariolo, was also involved. While the artists and directors wanted to evoke the classic shorts, he still wanted elements from his father's television series to be included, which is why Felix still uses his magic bag on several occasions. The episodes go in all sorts of strange directions, and part of the fun of Twisted Tales is not knowing where the stories are going to go. In the first episode, Felix deals with a cook trying to turn him into meat, and then the rest of it has Felix winding up in a whole bunch of random locations. The episode ends with the cook being turned into a sausage while still retaining his personality, so that should give you a general idea of what the show is like. It seems like almost any kind of idea, no matter how strange or unusual or weird, was made into an episode of the series, and it operates on pure cartoon logic and mayhem. There's an episode where the Bermuda Triangle actually comes alive and rampages through New York. How does this episode end? With Felix setting him up with Times Square. Because of course it does. I've often said that part of the appeal of animation is that there are no rules and no limits on the imagination, and Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat embraces that philosophy. Some episodes just drop the viewer into the middle of a scenario. For example, there's one where we just start with Felix flying out of space and then finding out the Earth has been stolen. No setup, the writers are just, this is a space episode. Another has Felix gobbled up by a VCR, and they cleverly insert him into movie footage. The animation especially does a good job of evoking the Fleischer style and the surrealness of Felix's silent cartoons by Otto Mesmer. Everyone has an old-school design, and even the buildings and objects have personalities. The way Felix shapeshifts is very inspired, with him even having the ability to turn into liquid. Most of the episodes are set in a city environment, reflecting the urban settings of many Fleischer cartoons, and the artist gave the various locations a lot of character. The show also tried to move Felix away from the innocent personality he was given in the late 50s. This Felix occasionally gets into mischief and is happy to mess with the villains who cross his path. They also made him more of a womanizer here, although he never succeeds at getting the girl. He's joined by some new friends, like Roscoe, who's depicted as not particularly bright, but nonetheless always pleased to help Felix with whatever wild scenario is thrown his way. There's also Sheba, unmistakably voiced by Cree Summer, and she provides a memorable companion for him on his wacky escapades. While it seemed like Milton Knight and the other artists had creative freedom, there were still a few decisions they were disappointed with. Knight has mentioned that he wanted to have episodes that were less reliant on dialogue, but CBS, which aired Twisted Tales, insisted on including additional dialogue. For the second season, it was decided to retool the show to make it more script-driven, so Garfield and Friends writer Mark Evanier was brought in to serve as the new head writer. Due to this change, most of the original crew left, including Knight and Berglund. Craig Kellman, who was hired as a character designer, was then given the role of producer. Another significant change was Felix's voice. Tom Adcox-Hernandez voiced him for the first season, while Charlie Adler took over for the second. I actually don't have a preference for one voice over the other, and I think both actors brought a lot to the character. Despite the script being given more traditional plotting, I do think the second season retained some of the show's intended surrealism. One episode even paid homage to Fleischer's Out of the Inkwell series by having Felix and Roscoe leap out the drawing desk and try to complete the show after the background artists and animators go off to party. An episode that feels like it especially came out of the classic cartoon era is Better Billy and Bill. In it, Felix keeps messing with a superstitious gambler who always loses whenever Felix crosses his path. I actually think this is one of the funniest episodes of the show, filled with a lot of inspired cartoon gags. Another solid episode from this season has Felix trying desperately to find milk, and it even throws in a reference to A Clockwork Orange in one scene. The second season incorporated more of Aurelio's characters from the older television series, so we get appearances from Poindexter, the Professor, and Master Cylinder. Something that especially stands out about the second season of Twisted Tales is how biting the humor is. There's an episode where an imposter cat, voiced by Jeffrey Tambor, kidnaps Felix and attempts to be him. He is shown singing the Felix the Cat theme song from the 50s, and there's even a jab at executives preferring to greenlight animated shows based on familiar properties. Another episode makes fun of the old Felix the Cat television show, including its limited animation style. One pokes fun at cartoons that insert an environmental message, while also parodying Star Trek. And in the episode where Felix meets a king who considers puns the lowest form of humor, there's this gag. However, the most satirical episode of them all is the one titled The Fuzzy Bunny Show. The story is one big meta-commentary about the television industry, especially the area of Saturday morning cartoons. In it, Felix's in-universe show gets cancelled, and he finds himself becoming completely irrelevant to children who don't recognize him. Unfortunately, this turned out to be a little too prophetic. It became one of the last episodes produced for the series, after CBS cancelled The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat due to low ratings. Felix the Cat is also a character who's become a lot less prominent in the decades since the show aired. I almost wonder if children nowadays are even aware of the character's existence. DreamWorks Animation has actually owned the character for several years now, but outside of comic books and the occasional merchandise, they have done barely anything with him. And even after Universal bought DWA and assumed control of Felix, they have not bothered to include him in their theme parks, much to my knowledge. In any case, I think The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat stands as maybe my favorite take on this classic cartoon icon. It was a series unafraid of taking him down some wild avenues, and the artist brought a lot of wacky energy and surreal nuttiness to the episodes. Even if not everyone behind the scenes agreed with the creative direction the show should be taken in, and it went through significant changes through the production of its 58 segments, The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat showcased a lot of imagination and was an enjoyable attempt in bringing back the old school style of animation from the 1930s. See you next time.